The weekly family dinner at the Henderson estate felt more suffocating than usual. Crystal chandeliers cast judgment from above while oil paintings of distinguished academics, my father's predecessors, stared down disapprovingly from gilt frames. The mahogany dining table, polished to mirror perfection, reflected back 5 faces: my parents, my sister Emma, her husband James, and me. Dad adjusted his university dean's pin, a habit he'd developed over 30 years at Westbrook University. Mom sat perfectly poised in her designer suit, fresh from another board meeting. Emma wore her professor's blazer-like armor, while James kept touching his department head badge. I sat quietly in my simple black dress, checking my phone as another message from the board came through. Tomorrow's announcement would change everything, but for now, I let them bask in their academic superiority. Grace, darling, Mom's voice dripped with false concern as she delicately cut into her wagyu beef. I heard you're still tutoring. She said the word like it was covered in doubt. Yes, Mom. I am. I took a small sip of water, noting how they'd given me the cheap glass while everyone else had crystal. Teaching kids for pocket money, Mom smirked, sharing a knowing look with Emma. At least it keeps you busy while you figure out your real career. Emma jumped in, unable to resist. You know, there's an administrative assistant position opening in my department. It's entry-level, but at least it's at a real university. Thank you, but I'm content with my current work. I checked my phone again. The contracts were finalized. Everything was in place. Content. Dad's voice boomed across the table. Henderson women aren't supposed to be content with mediocrity. Your sister is the youngest tenured professor in her field. Your mother sits on 3 university boards. And you're helping children with their homework. I tucked my phone away, straightening my spine. My students are making excellent progress. Progress. Emma laughed, the sound sharp as breaking glass. Grace, you're 32. When are you going to make progress? Real progress. The Henderson name means something in academia, Mom added, gesturing to the portraits. 5 generations of educational excellence. And you're throwing it away on tutoring. James, ever the loyal son-in-law, chimed in. My department's research budget is larger than what you make in a year. I checked my watch, a simple piece that hid its true value well. The news would break in exactly 3 minutes. Everyone's path is different. Different. Dad's face reddened. You had every advantage. The best schools, the right connections. You could have had a real position at any university. Instead, you waste your time with children who can barely read. Those children deserve quality education, I said quietly, thinking of the thousands of students who would benefit from tomorrow's announcement. Quality. Emma snorted. What quality can come from someone who couldn't even finish their PhD? Mom set down her fork with a decisive clink. We've been patient, Grace. We've waited for you to come to your senses. But this tutoring nonsense has gone on long enough. You're embarrassing the family. My phone buzzed. Right on schedule. Speaking of embarrassment, Emma continued, warming to her favorite topic. Sarah Williams' daughter just became an associate dean. She's 2 years younger than you. 2 years. And you're still dash. The dining room TV suddenly came to life, interrupting her tirade. Dad always insisted on having the evening news playing during dinner, another academic tradition. The anchor's voice filled the room. Breaking news in education. Westbrook University announces its youngest president in history, along with a groundbreaking $50 million donation for a new campus focused on accessible education. Dad's fork clattered to his plate. Sources confirmed that Grace Henderson, age 32, will be taking over as university president next month, making her the youngest university president in the country. The Henderson Educational Foundation, her private organization, has been quietly revolutionizing tutoring programs across the state. The silence was deafening. Emma's mouth hung open, her professor's pin suddenly looking very small. James had gone pale, his department head badge catching the chandelier light mockingly. But you're just a tutor, Mom whispered, her perfectly manicured hands trembling. I stood slowly, smoothing my simple dress. I think you'll find I'm much more than that. My tutoring program has grown into the country's largest educational support network. We've been acquiring struggling colleges, implementing new teaching methods, and yes, helping children who can barely read become academic achievers. Dad stared at the TV, which now showed footage of my foundation's headquarters, a sleek skyscraper in the heart of downtown. As for not finishing my PhD, I continued, gathering my things. I was too busy building a billion-dollar educational empire. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a board meeting to prepare for. We're announcing the acquisition of 3 more universities tomorrow. I paused at the door, turning back to my stunned family. Oh, and Dad? You might want to update your dean's pin. As of tomorrow, Westbrook University has a new leader. The next morning, Westbrook University's grand auditorium buzzed with anticipation. Hundreds of faculty members, board trustees, and media representatives filled the historic space. From backstage, I watched my family file in, their faces still pale from last night's revelation. Dad clutched his dean's pin nervously, while Mom smoothed her designer suit compulsively. Emma and James slipped into the front row, their usual confidence notably absent. They'd had no choice but to attend. The email I'd sent at 6 a.m. had made it clear that all department heads were required to be present. 5 minutes, Ms. Henderson, my assistant whispered, handing me the latest enrollment statistics. I nodded, reviewing the numbers one last time. My little tutoring program had identified a critical gap in education years ago. While prestigious universities focused on elite students, thousands of capable learners were falling through the cracks. I'd started small, working with struggling students, developing new teaching methods, and documenting everything. The board chairman approached the podium. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed colleagues. Today marks a historic moment for Westbrook University. In the audience, I saw Mom lean over to whisper something to Emma, probably still trying to make sense of it all. They had no idea that while they'd been mocking my career choices, I'd been building something revolutionary. Over the past decade, the Henderson Educational Foundation has quietly transformed the landscape of modern education, the chairman continued. Their innovative programs have achieved unprecedented success rates, particularly among students traditionally overlooked by elite institutions. Dad shifted uncomfortably in his seat. How many times had he dismissed my reports about student success rates? The Foundation's acquisition of Westbrook University isn't just a change in leadership. It's a commitment to combining academic excellence with accessible education. The screen behind the podium lit up with statistics, graduation rates, employment success, student satisfaction scores. Each number represented thousands of students who'd flourished under my program's guidance. Please welcome our new president, Ms. Grace Henderson. The applause was thunderous as I walked onto the stage. My simple but elegant suit projected exactly what I wanted. Competence without pretension, authority without arrogance. Thank you, I began, my voice clear and steady. Westbrook University has a proud history of academic achievement. But excellence shouldn't be exclusive. In the front row, Emma's face flushed as she recognized her own words thrown back at her. How many times had she bragged about her department's exclusive standards? Our $50 million donation will establish a new campus dedicated to innovative learning approaches. We'll be implementing the teaching methods that have produced extraordinary results in our Foundation's programs. I clicked to the next slide, revealing the architectural plans for the new campus. The auditorium gasped. It was magnificent, modern, and clearly designed to accommodate diverse learning styles. Additionally, I continued, we're launching a comprehensive scholarship program. Every student who shows potential and dedication will have a chance at quality education, regardless of their background. Mom's perfectly maintained composure cracked slightly. She'd always insisted that maintaining standards meant keeping certain students out. Now her daughter was throwing the doors wide open. To oversee these changes, we're restructuring several departments. I paused, making brief eye contact with James, who suddenly seemed very interested in his shoes. Department heads will receive detailed emails about their new roles by end of day. The tension in the room was palpable. Everyone knew what restructuring meant. Questions? I asked, knowing few would dare raise their hands. One did, Emma. Yes, Professor Henderson. I acknowledged her with professional courtesy. These changes, her voice wavered slightly, they seem to prioritize quantity over quality. Won't this damage Westbrook's reputation? I smiled. clicking to the next slide. An excellent question. Let's look at the data from our existing programs. The screen filled with comparison charts, standard university programs versus my foundation's methods. The results were undeniable: higher retention rates, better academic performance, stronger career outcomes. Quality education isn't about exclusivity, I stated, watching my sister sink back into her seat. It's about effectiveness. Our methods work. The results prove it. The presentation continued for another 30 minutes. I outlined plans for curriculum updates, faculty training, and technological integration. With each detail, I could see my family's worldview crumbling. As the audience filed out afterward, I noticed Dad lingering by the stage, fidgeting with his dean's pin. The board meeting starts in 10 minutes, I said, gathering my materials. Your new assignment will be discussed there. Grace, He started, then stopped, looking lost. Yes. Your students, the ones you tutored. They really learned better. I handed him a thick folder, years of research, data, and success stories. See for yourself. Though you might want to read it quickly. Changes start tomorrow. As I walked away, I heard him call out softly, "We should have paid attention." I didn't turn back. The time for family dynamics was over. I had a university to transform. 6 months later, I stood in my presidential office, overlooking the construction of the new campus. The morning sun glinted off the steel beams and glass panels, a physical manifestation of the changes sweeping through Westbrook University. My phone buzzed, another message from Mom, her 5th this week. Like the others, it would go unanswered. There would be time for family reconciliation, but not until the transformation was complete. A knock at the door interrupted my thoughts. "Come in." My assistant entered with today's reports. "The enrollment numbers for next semester, Ms. Henderson. They've doubled." I smiled, scanning the statistics. Our new admission criteria, focusing on potential rather than privilege, had opened doors for hundreds of promising students. The scholarship program had received national attention, and applications were pouring in from across the country. Also, she added, Professor Emma Henderson Brooks requested another meeting. Of course she did. Since the restructuring, Emma had been relegated to teaching introductory courses, a humbling change from her prestigious research position. Her department's elitist policies hadn't aligned with our new vision. "Schedule her for next week," I replied, turning back to the window. "And send her our latest student success metrics." The numbers didn't lie. Students who had been rejected by traditional admission standards were thriving under our new methods. My little tutoring program had evolved into a revolutionary educational approach, and the results were undeniable. Another knock. This time, it was Dad. "Grace," he said, standing awkwardly in the doorway. His dean's pin was gone, replaced by a simple faculty badge. The restructuring had affected him too. He now taught freshman seminars, working directly with students for the first time in decades. "Yes." I kept my tone professional, remembering all those dismissive family dinners. I wanted to show you something." He placed a folder on my desk. "My students' midterm results." I opened it, raising an eyebrow at the statistics. The freshman class was performing exceptionally well, particularly the scholarship students. "You were right," he admitted, his voice soft. "Your methods, they work. These kids, the ones we would have rejected before, they are brilliant. They just needed a chance." I nodded, closing the folder. "That's what I've been saying for years, Dad." "I know. We should have listened." He paused, looking around my office, the space that had once been his. "Your mother, she misses you. We all do." "I'm sure she does," I replied, turning back to the window. "How's the faculty adjusting to the new requirements?" He accepted the subject change. "Better than expected. Even Emma's starting to come around. Her introductory class had the highest improvement rates this semester." A small smile crossed my face. Emma had fought the changes initially, clinging to her old teaching methods. But the success of her students was changing her perspective, just as I'd predicted. "The board meeting starts in 5 minutes, I reminded him. "We're reviewing the expansion plans." He nodded, moving toward the door. "Grace, we're proud of you. even if we were too blind to see it before. After he left, I allowed myself a moment of reflection. The family dynamics had shifted dramatically. Mom no longer hosted her pretentious academic dinners. Emma had stopped flaunting her credentials. James had been transferred to a smaller department, his arrogance tempered by necessity. But more importantly, Westbrook University was transforming. The new campus would open next semester, featuring innovative learning spaces and cutting-edge technology. Our teaching methods were being studied by institutions worldwide. The Henderson Educational Foundation had become a blueprint for academic reform. My phone buzzed again, a news alert this time. Westbrook University President named Educator of the Year. Grace Henderson's revolutionary approach reshapes higher education. I smiled, remembering Mom's words, teaching kids for pocket money. The intercom crackled. Ms. Henderson? The board is ready. Gathering my materials, I took one last look at the construction site. The new building would be named the Opportunity Center, a deliberate choice that had made Emma cringe and Mom nearly faint. In the boardroom, I saw my family seated among the trustees. They looked different now, humbler, more thoughtful. The past 6 months had taught them what I'd known all along. True education wasn't about prestige or exclusivity. It was about potential and opportunity. Let's begin, I announced, taking my place at the head of the table. Today, we'll review our expansion plans and the implementation of our teaching methods across all departments. As I presented the latest success metrics, I caught Mom dabbing at her eyes. Dad was nodding along, genuinely engaged. Emma was taking notes, her former condescension replaced by genuine interest. They'd finally understood what that little tutoring program had been about. It was never about helping kids with homework, it was about revolutionizing education itself. Any questions? I asked, concluding my presentation. The room was silent, the data speaking for itself. Then Emma raised her hand. Yes, Professor Henderson. Would you be willing to help me redesign my introductory course? Using your methods. I smiled, remembering all those times she'd mocked my career choice. Of course. After all, that's what good tutors do. The irony wasn't lost on anyone in the room.